item. It's 640 Amerton Road report. And CAO, where are we dealing with under unfinished business?
Yes.
Item C then under unfinished business. And with that, a motion to adopt would be in order.
Move. Second.
All in favor? Motion's carried. No delegations this evening. We do have representatives from 640 Amerton here who are available to answer any questions, but we can deal with that as the need arises. So we'll move on to minutes of meetings. We have the council meeting minutes of May 16th for approval.
Move.
Second. I just had
Yes,
one small correction on page 10 under reports from council. It says that I attended the committee of the whole on behalf of Councillor Fletcher. I actually attended the committee of the whole meeting as I would be attending the regional board meeting the following week on behalf of Paddy Fletcher. So I wasn't actually at the table for that one, just to get information for the next board meeting.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, with that, all those in favor? Motion's carried. We have the special meeting of council minutes, May 16th for approval.
Move. Second.
Approval then, all those in favor? Motion's carried. And then we have the committee of the whole meeting minutes of May 23rd for receipt.
Move.
Second.
For receipt, all those in favor? Motion's carried. Two recommendations, one regarding the bylaw repeal bylaw. Bylaw 1729 for council to consider at first, second, and third reading, which will happen tonight.
I'll move that. Second.
Any discussion on that? All those in favor? Motion's carried. And that's regarding the policing resource request, that the detachment commander be invited to a future committee of the whole to discuss policing resource issues.
Move that as well.
Second.
All those in favor? Motion's carried, and I believe that's tentatively set for the second meeting in September the 12th. Or thereabouts. Okay, management reports then for receipt at page 21.
Receipt.
Second.
Receipt, all those in favor? Motion's carried. Those matters are all still progressing. Is there anything further to add to the
Move.
Right, and then we have the minutes of the regional district. Hang on, back to we have, I jumped ahead there. We have the motion that was referred to this meeting from the previous council meeting around the Canadian European Comprehensive Economic and Trade Unit. So that is on the floor already now for discussion. So, anyone wish to discuss it at this time? Councillor Tom?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. On the weekend, I attended a session at FCM where the president of FCM spoke about this and the work that FCM has been doing with the government on this. And FCM has got assurance from the federal government that the 7 principles that were adopted by FCM are going to be taken into consideration and adhered to in the negotiations. And so I think that this resolution, I mean, is redundant. We have people working on our behalf to do this, and they're quite comfortable with what's going on. As a matter of fact, they seem quite excited about what was going on and how they were being protected. And I believe you were at the same meeting, were you not?
I don't think I made that one. I was at a study tour at that time.
Oh, all right. So anyway, FCM feels quite confident that our interests are being looked after by the federal government in the negotiations. So I don't think that we need to send this off.
Just a quick question. I saw some reference to water in that discussion. Is that one of the subjects?
It's off the table. There's no water agreements being negotiated.
They're exempted from it.
They're exempt from it. So.
Okay, Ken?
Yeah, and just, I was at that same meeting, and they were pretty clear that this looked like it would be a really good deal for Canada overall, in that they believe that it will attract about 80,000 new jobs, and that it will be worth about $98 billion a year. So all of those, but it also says they will also protect the role of local elected governments in deciding how drinking water and other essential public services are managed and delivered. So they've already addressed all of that and continue to, and have a very good working relationship, and I think they're doing a really good job of advocating on behalf of the communities for what we're trying to do. So I would agree with Councillor Grant that this is a bit redundant, and especially when it says in this motion that they want us to negotiate a clear permanent exemption for local government from CETA. I don't think that that would be wise at this time.
All right, anything further? Councillor Price?
Yes, and I appreciate the comments that Councillor Grant made. I still think that this is a very important issue for local government. I think one of the concerns is that we really don't know what's in the agreement. I really appreciate the work that FCM is doing, but certainly this trade agreement, unlike other ones, such as NAFTA, which only apply to federal government procurement, CETA will mark the first time that local government purchasing in Canada is covered under a long-term international trade agreement. And basically, we, outside the inner circle, are really only learning about it through leaked documents. And the leaked documents also show that neither the federal or provincial government's trade offers are including clauses to protect local government authority and public services. Now, I'm glad to hear that water is off the table, but I think the big issue is procurement. There is a huge amount of local government spending. I believe it's about 120 billion in goods and services, and Europe wants access to these agreements, access to these procurements. Even with the work of FCM and UBCM, we are still seeing local governments debating this and passing resolutions. The Northwest Territories, at their AGM last month, they passed a resolution asking that local government be excluded. I think passing a resolution sends a strong message to the federal and provincial government, and I think it supports the work of FCM and UBCM. And I'm certainly hearing that given the work of FCM, there's a concern that about the resolution, particularly the therefore be it resolved clause. So I would be very happy to move an amendment that says, replaces the therefore be it resolved with that municipalities have the right to choose to be exempted from the procurement clause of CETA on any project that they choose. So what it's basically asking is that if a local government wishes to be exempted, they can have the right to do that. And so I would move that amendment.
Okay, so where would that?
So remove what's under therefore be it resolved that exists. So therefore be it resolved that the town of Comox request that municipalities have the right to choose to be exempted from the procurement clause of CETA on any projects that they choose, and that this resolution be sent to FCM and UBCM and to our federal MP John Duncan and our local MLA Don McCrae.
Okay, so what you're talking about is taking out the four sort of bullet resolutions, leaving the last one in, but then substituting that language.
Yes.
Got. So you get all that?
So that municipalities have the right to choose to be exempted from the procurement clause of CETA on any projects that they choose.
Okay, so got all that language. Is there a seconder for that?
I'll second it for discussion.
Okay, so on the amendment, that's been moved. And the wording I think we've got. Discussion on the amendment then. Councillor Dunn.
So the very first principle of FCM is reasonable procurement thresholds. Inappropriately low or broad procurement thresholds may force municipalities to tender projects when tendering is neither practical nor financially justified. It's the very first principle, and they're addressing it. So again,
Sorry, can you repeat that? I didn't
Can I
quite.
say that again?
It says reasonable procurement thresholds is the very first of the 7 principles. And it says inappropriately low or broad procurement thresholds may force municipalities to tender projects when tendering is neither practical nor financially justified. So that is something that FCM is dealing with, and it's been put right into the thing, and the minister has agreed to adhere to the 7 principles. So again, I don't see the need for this entire motion that we have here.
Okay. Yeah, I think the motion, or sorry, the amendment relates to an exemption as opposed to a level of procurement. But aside from that, further discussion on the motion, go ahead.
If I can, Your Worship, to our CAO, do you see that there's merits here locally to have that amendment? Would that be helpful to have that amendment here put in? Is it necessary?
I don't believe so. After reviewing the FCM document, the background that came through a few weeks ago, I did not attend the session that the Councillors Grants attended, but it seems that this organization, which is working on behalf of local government, should provide protection.
And just a quick word, you know, the whole purpose of this and to do with procurement is that if a local government wants to, and we're not, you know, we may not have any big enough projects in Comox, maybe at the regional district level, the regional hospital level where we get big projects. If we want to have a local focus, if there's other things that we wish to make a priority, we can be ruled out on that because of the trade agreement. And I think the fact that none of those around the table actually know what's in it, I think that's one of the, you know, the really poor things about it, is that the consultation has been with the public and at this level has not been there. So I think that this allows for those who wish to be exempted on certain projects to go ahead. So I certainly will be supporting it.
Okay, on the amendment, go ahead.
Well, number one, as far as not knowing what's in the agreement, this is a high-level trade agreement that the federal government is trying to negotiate with the European Union. They're not going to, divulge what's going on in these negotiations. And what has happened is that the president of FCM has taken these 7 principles that are of great concern to municipalities.
Do you have them?
Yeah.
Maybe you can just summarize them quickly first? I don't necessarily all reading all of it.
Well,
Or whatever.
anyway, the point I'm trying to make is that there's no amount of consultation that's going to make us privy to what's going on in this agreement. FCM has spoken to the minister and has given these 7 guiding principles that are concerned to municipalities. And the minister has come back and said that we have adopted those 7 principles and we will be using them in our negotiations. So basically we're protected. We don't need to know what's in the trade agreement, and we just need to know that the minister has assured FCM that they're taking these 7 guiding principles and incorporating them into the negotiations.
Okay, so on the amendment, any further discussion?
Well, there's just one more comment that the president of FCM made, and this is something that came out in writing, which is FCM welcomes the federal government's commitment to a CETA deal that creates jobs and opportunities for Canadians while protecting the local decision-making that is the lifeblood of strong, healthy Canadian communities. So that's right off the press release. So.
And I know when this issue first came up, there was a question asked of staff, I believe, around procurement. We don't have, I don't think we ever have had, as far as I know, in the last 10 years, a local preference policy or discount or what have you. It's interesting because one of the projects coming here to the Valley in the very near future is the hospitals project. And there's obviously going to be consideration of consortia that will be involved with that include presumably parties from all over the world, significant projects. So VHA will be conducting that whole tender process. I know that's not what this is speaking to, but the reality is we live in a global economy, and free trade, for better or worse, is with us. We live in a society that has free trade, Canada-US, Alberta, BC, through Tilma, and presumably this, if this goes ahead, Canada, European Union. So I don't see that even if we wanted to, we could exempt ourselves from that. It's negotiated at a very high level. Anyway, that's my thoughts at the moment. Is there any further discussion on the amendments? Okay, they're ready for the question. All those in favor of the amendments? Those opposed? Amendments defeated, so we're back to the main motion. Any further discussion on the main motion? And that includes all the bullet points there. All those in favor? Those opposed? Motion is defeated. Thank you for that discussion.
Thank you.
All right, so the next item is the late item that we referenced earlier under unfinished business, and that is the Town of Comox planning report regarding 640 Anderton Road. And there are a number of recommendations. Firstly, that the APC minutes be received.
Move.
Second.
Any discussion on the APC minutes? They are attached as attachment 3. Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion is carried. Second recommendation is that bylaw 1731, which is the zoning bylaw amendment 79, be given first and second reading.
Move.
Second.
Any discussion on that? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Thirdly, that the bylaw 1732 phase development agreement 640 Anderson Road authorization bylaw be given first and second reading.
Move that.
Second.
Second. This juncture, I just wanted to ask our planner, because I know these phase development agreements come up more and more now. This is not, to my understanding, in the traditional sense, a phased development agreement, development, sorry. So can you just, for council, explain, I know you've explained it to me, what this means?
Certainly. Phase development commonly refers to a phase strata. So somebody has a large development and they actually want to develop out over in a number of stages. So we do enter into phased strata agreements that are registered on title and allow such developments to proceed. And often before council, you will get development variance permits requests to permit that phased build-out. Because essentially what happens under the phased build-out, if the following phases do not occur, then in effect you have a subdivision. You end up with strata and you end up with the remaining. In Victoria, approximately, probably 5-6 years ago, there was a case on the Inner Harbour where a developer provided a number of different amenities, parkland, infrastructure, and then was building out his development. Built out the development, built the properties furthest inland, the idea that building the properties in the waterfront last. What happened was the project got partially built out. The residents who had been enjoying a waterfront view petitioned the council to downzone the lands along the waterfront. That was successful, and then there was a number of court cases on the legal inability for council to fetter its discretion versus unjust enrichment. The result was the province created a new statute in the Local Government Act called a phased development agreement. What that essentially is, it's a mechanism whereby council can, by statute, receive certain amenities, and in exchange for that, the developer gets a protection that, quite frankly, that essentially that his or her property will not be downzoned for a minimum of 10 years.
Okay.
Unfortunately, the terminology of that is called phased development agreement, and those are what you're now seeing being used by the planning department to secure the amenities such as third-party green certification, as in this case.
And the public arts.
And the public art, yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you for clarifying that. All right. Anything further on that? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion is carried. And then lastly, that a public hearing be scheduled for these two bylaws.
Move.
Second.
And my understanding is we're going to schedule that for the 20th of June.
Yes, it'll be in conjunction with the Torrance Knoll.
Okay. All right, all those in favor? Motion is carried. All right, thank you, staff, for putting that together. And we'll see you next at the public hearing. All right, so moving on is minutes of the regional district. There's 3 sets of minutes. The regional district board, May 29th, the hospital district, May 10th, and the solid waste, May 10th.
Can you move all three at the same time?
Thank you. Seconder for that?
Second.
Any discussion on those? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion's carried. Bylaws, page 41, we have the bylaw repeal bylaw, 1729 for first, second, and third reading.
Move.
Second.
Any further discussion at this time? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion's carried. Now I'll come forward for adoption in 2 weeks' time. Excuse me. Under new business, we have a request by one of the applicants for secondary suites under the previous bylaws for a refund of the application fee. So staff are recommending denial, however, council's prerogative is as they see fit. So move that or move something different. Yes?
I will move it.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. Discussion?
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
I mean, I think it's unfortunate that the money has been spent, and I think that if we do refund somebody from prior to the secondary suite bylaw going through, then really we should be refunding everyone. So, I mean, I hope they mentioned that some people knew and some people didn't, but I find it hard to believe that once we went into the process of making secondary suites throughout the zones, I'm sure that people were informed that this was happening, and I can't see that there was anyone was discriminated against, and so I agree with the recommendation.
Planner and then Ken.
Yes, I'd just like to confirm that. So the 2 people, the 2 applications that didn't proceed, we advised them, once we were preparing the bylaw, then we advised them that we were doing that, and we asked them if they wish to proceed in advance on a site-specific basis, or if they wish to wait. So that was exactly what was done.
Thank you. Councillor Ken.
Well, actually, I noticed in here that the application for the lady looking for the money back was on December 14th, and the 2 that actually we did refund them were on March and April, so that's almost 4 or 5 months later. So it seems to me there's a time frame there that.
Yeah, we hadn't yet even considered it by December 14th. We didn't discuss that really until sometime in January. All right, any further? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion's carried. Oh, yes, please.
So I'd just like to make a notice of motion regarding the use of gas tax money for our.
Oh, sure. I mean,
Thank
thank you for that. Sorry, use of gas tax money?
Yeah, and Richard and I will.
On a resolution?
Yes, a
Great.
resolution for UBCM.
Awesome.
The deadline for UBCM resolutions is June 30th.
June 30th. We have a meeting on the 20th, so.
Yeah, no, that's good. Thank you for bringing that forward. All right, and so under correspondence, we have for receipt the letter from the Vancouver Island Health Authority and the Office of Chief Medical Health Officer.
I would move receipt.
Thank you.
Second.
Moved and seconded. And staff have provided a brief report on that. As you can see, there is no current regulation by the town on tobacco use or smoking. That is regulated under the provincial regulations. So staff are suggesting that continue under the Provincial Tobacco Control Act, and should changes happen there, then we would of course follow them. So that's something we probably don't want to task our bylaw officer with, because he currently is not doing any of that.
Well, he's out that this month.
Yes. So just on receipt then, all those in favor? Motion's carried. We have 2 letters, one from Mr. Dave Adams and another from Grant Nichols around municipal marina fee increases. Those can be received together if you wish.
I'll move both. I'll move receipt both.
Second.
On receipt, any further discussion? Councillor Price?
Just on the first letter by Dave Adamson, he mentions something about a marina enhancement committee.
Yes.
There is a committee, is there?
There isn't currently one. There was one in the last council, and I know when I was on council with Mayor Brass, we had one for about 6 years. There is a possibility that another select committee will be established. Staff are considering as part of their work plan some of the initiatives brought forward in the strategic planning process around community boardwalk space and community walkways. So it may be something that we want to do. We will have to consult with the public, of course, on anything that we do in that regard, so that may be something that we'll do. Yes.
I'm just wondering if I know there was a couple letters prior to this one, and I'm just wondering if all these citizens who've been writing these letters, have you been apprised of the fact that we're going to be using some of that revenue from those increases to fund improvements down on the waterfront so that the marina is more inclusive for all citizens and not just the boating community?
I believe I responded to one from Mr. Blackburn to that effect, but certainly we will include in our responses to these two, not only that we receive and file, but staff will include some appropriate language in that regard.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, no, good suggestion.
And just the last point that was raised by Dave Adamson about a smaller boat using a larger berth. What's the protocol down there? Is it
Yeah, we'll probably knows, hopefully knows the answer to that. I can find out.
I can find out for you. I'm not sure what the background is. Sometimes you have an individual that will be holding a larger spot and paying for a larger spot in the event of buying their bigger dream boat.
Our Director of Finance.
Your Worship, it's written into our bylaw that we charge the greater of the slope length or the boat length.
Okay.
So it's a charge mechanism. I guess his concern is that the larger spots are probably the ones that go at a premium, and the smaller ones. Don't we have some vacant smaller berths?
Based on the size of the boat he's referring to, which is a popular size, as well as we have a very limited amount of 40-foot slips. Both are in very high demand. So I would say that probably not much space.
Yeah, sometimes what happens is people sell a boat, they're sort of in between boats, that kind of thing. So, not sure, but staff will deal with that as required.
Thank you.
Okay, so on receipt then, all those in favor? Motion's carried, and suitable replies will be sent. And then lastly, just for receipt, a letter from Freeman of the Town, Alice Bullen, and former councillor.
I move receipt of that, and that we thank her for her, I guess it's a donation, is it?
Is indeed.
Yeah.
Second that.
Yes, so we did get the paintings, I don't think they're in here tonight, but they will be put up in a suitable part of the town facilities, and certainly thanked her personally for her contribution and for giving us some of the background, which is quite interesting. So anything further on that? All those in favor? Motion's carried. All right, so next is reports from members of council. So we'll start with Councillor Price.
Yes, I attended the Comox Archives and Museum monthly meeting. I attended the St. John's Ambulance Brigade AGM, which was great. From little kids up to adults, and very enthusiastic. And we did the inspecting the troops, which I've never done before. It was a bit like the Queen. And yeah, so that was a great event, and I'm just very impressed by the work that they do and the number of people who are actually involved. I attended the cycling task force, and as people know, it was Bike to Work week this week, and I think our mayor did his fair share for all of us, so I'd like to thank you for that. And I attended the Regional District Board on behalf of Director Fletcher, and I also attended the Social Planning Council, where we are looking at a revamp of the quality of life report. Now we have the new census material coming out, so we are looking for grants to update the past report. Thank you.
All right. Councillor Swift?
I attended the advisory planning commission meeting, and where we were discussing the 640 Anderton Road development. I attended the reception for Kim Cottrell. The hospice board meeting I chaired. Attended the Philburg board meeting, monthly meeting. I attended the Sweetness birthday celebration, which was at the Philburg on the weekend. I was the acting mayor at the 1726 Canadian Scottish Army Cadet Review on the weekend, and the Royal Canadian Sea Cadet Corps Review, and Bob Philburg's birthday celebration at the Philburg on Sunday.
Great. Thanks for doing those things. Councillor McKinnon?
Yes, I was represented mayor and council at the Highland Grad, and I'd like to make note that the Osler Shield winner this year was Noah Lewis, very worthy winner there. Attended the fishing game outdoor show on the weekend out at Comox Lake on behalf of council. Well attended and a great event. Today I attended the Jubilee celebration at the museum here. Got some cake, which was very nice, but a great idea to bring people into the museum, and it was well attended today, I understand. And also, I did bike to work as well, and I found out that you can't cycle on memory alone. It doesn't work.
Yeah. Just like riding a bike, isn't
Yeah.
it? Never forget. Councillor Ken?
Thanks. Yeah, I attended the Economic Development Society meeting last night, and I also attended the FCM conference on the weekend in Saskatoon. And without stealing everyone else's thunder, I'll keep it to one issue that I found interesting. They have a society there called the Meewashan Trail Society, and they have 80 kilometers of trails up and down the Saskatchewan River, 60 as the crow flies, but it's actually 80 million. They put about $19 million into it. There's no building on the trail at all, so it's all just natural. They came by it quite by chance or by fluke in one sense, in that it was a real flood zone and you really couldn't build anything on there. They put a dam in place, and all of a sudden it became useful property again. At that time, the province of Saskatchewan stepped in and said, we don't want any building on there, and they formed this society, so that's how that's all gone. So of the $19 million worth of trails that they've developed, only 20% have come from the municipality, the rest have come out of donations and grants, and they're actually able to give tax receipts. So they go to companies like the Potash Corporation, which is a huge company, and when they have a project, they'll go and ask, and for instance, the Potash company gave them $500,000 last year to build an outdoor skating rink, and they get a tax receipt for it. So it all works quite nicely into how they do it. So, you know, when you look at these really nice trail networks, and this is about as nice as it gets, there's always a way that they do it that we don't seem to be able to come up with. So there's a lot of work to be done there. I also attended a session regarding infrastructure and gas tax and other things, and I'll let somebody else talk about those, and one on downtown revitalization as well.
Okay. Councillor Tom?
Okay, well, I couldn't participate in the bike to work week because every morning I woke up, found I didn't have a job, so I didn't know where to bike to. I attended the Regional District Board meeting on May 29th. I attended the FCM conference with the mayor and Councillor Grant. The highlight for me was the infrastructure survey, because in March of 2014, when the current infrastructure plan that the federal government has, it expires, and so the federal government is working on a new infrastructure plan and how they're going to fund all these projects across Canada. And FCM wanted to be very proactive in working with the federal government on that, and rather than wait to hear what plan the federal government's going to have, FCM wanted to come up with suggestions on how this whole plan should look and how it should be implemented. And so they had, my goodness, I don't know how many of us were in the room, and we all had these electronic voting machines, and they would put up the various priorities as the room, municipalities across Canada saw it. And strangely enough, on I think 20 questions that they asked, in voting on behalf of the town, I was in the majority on every single issue. So the issues that are important to us here in Comox are exactly the same issues that are going on right across Canada from large and small municipalities. I found it really, really interesting that would be the case. So, and I attended several business sessions and did a walking tour of their downtown improvement district and other things. But all in all, it was a good conference, and I was extremely pleased to be there.
Great.
From the gas tax, too.
Oh, and the gas tax too.
They announced the gas tax would be permanent.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, yeah. All right. Do we have that little clip? Okay, I'll get you to warm that up, and I'll just report on some other things.
It's not from a Greek restaurant.
This isn't.
No, we'll show the clip in a minute. It's our president, past now president of FCM, and a kind of an interesting little Rick Mercer inspired rant about the infrastructure campaign. But
I thought it was him at a Greek restaurant.
no. Happens to our Stacey. I just mentioned the Kim Cattrall reception that was mentioned, the Walk of Achievement, the Empire Days Parade, and May Queen Lunch I attended. Met with Alan Hughes, the union rep for the Coast Guard Station. Of course, I reported the press on the meeting with John Duncan. Participated in the Slade Lumber Pro-Am Golf Tournament at Glacier Greens. And met with Alice Bullen, as mentioned, to accept the donation of those paintings. Today I met with some consortium representatives for the hospitals project, trying to get a local feel for the community as to what's important to us. At FCM, I attended a number of things, study tours, workshops, and the like. A couple of interesting workshops, one put on by CUPE. I see there's a couple of CUPE representatives here for the town, but CUPE put on a P3 discussion. And I've asked for the paper that they're circulating to be sent here, so we'll circulate that. Also one on social media, which was very interesting. Our CAO has now got the town of Comox in the world of Twitter. And so for those of you who aren't on Twitter, maybe it's something you want to look at. We'll be sending out updates through Twitter and Facebook as required. Met briefly with Liberal leader Bob Ray in the hallways. He was coming in, and just mentioned to him our concerns around the Coast Guard Station. He's well aware of those issues on this coast. So, and I also wanted to say that I've been following the Biking for Baja blog that the McKinnon boys are documenting their trip across Canada. They're somewhere in Saskatchewan, I'm guessing about now. And the blog is well worth looking at, quite hilarious, and great brotherly rivalry going on there with the yellow jerseys at each stage of the way and everything. And they had a very good story in today's Regina Leader Post. So that's how I know they're in Saskatchewan on them. And kudos to them and their journey across Canada for that cause in Parkinson's research. So great to see that. I'm sure when they get back, we'll have something to welcome them back. So are we ready to go there, Director of Finance?
Yep.
So this is a little piece that our now past president of FCM put on. And for those of you who weren't there and haven't looked at it yet on the World Wide Web, on YouTube, we'll see if it works here.
You know what I've learned as president of FCM? I've learned a lot has changed since 1867. Most people don't care about government. Federal, provincial, municipal, it's all political stuff that almost nobody cares about except us politicians. Canadians just want things to work. We want our potholes fixed and traffic moving. We want clean water, we want our garbage picked up, we want safe communities, and we want the bus to show up so we can get to work on time. Here's another thing I've learned. We're all proud to be Canadian. We care about hockey, the snowbirds, our flag, and the true north strong and free. But what we care about most is home. It's where we live. Our neighborhoods, our cities, our towns, and our farms. I'm calling on everyone who cares about the place they call home to speak up. When things in our communities don't work, we just want them to be fixed. We don't care about why they can't be fixed. So tell everyone in government, you need to work together to fix our cities and communities. Our cities and communities are the foundations of our country. We need to start rebuilding Canada, and we need to start now, before it's too late.
So that brought down the House in the assembled crowd, and I think it was very well received. It follows some of the recommendations or the themes, I should say, and the recommendations are outlined in this report the FCM has put forward, the State of Canada Cities and Communities 2012. And it ties in with a campaign, the Target 2014 campaign, which we're being asked to carry the torch for, quite literally, to lobby our senior governments and as well educate the public about what some of the challenges are around infrastructure finance and the partnerships needed with the federal and provincial governments. So there's lots more information on fcm.ca, and I'm sure we'll be talking about it as we go forward, even in 2 weeks' time around the gas tax UBCM. So it's an interesting time and interesting challenges, and certainly anyone who's interested can go onto that website. And of course, this is now somewhat viral. People can have a look-see, and thank you for bringing that to our technology CAO and Director of Finance. So that's it for the reports, and there are no other items on the agenda other than perhaps media questions at this time or after, and questions from members of the public. This time, no. So a motion to adjourn would be in order.
Move.
All those in favor? Motion's carried.